Good morning, all. We're doing similar things this week as we did a week ago since the last time we talked. We're excited about getting the opportunity to instruct these guys in a physical way, in a classroom setting, different than the spring. We're getting an opportunity to show that learning on our feet in a walkthrough setting, and we're taking advantage of that. And lastly, we're getting an opportunity to display conditioning or improve conditioning, and we've gotten a good sense of where the group is. Largely, the veteran players are a highly conditioned group. They answered the challenge that we presented to them in the offseason when we work remotely, and that is to come in very good condition. That was the only thing that they could control, and that would kind of be a catalyst for us to move forward. We acknowledged that that was the jello that we couldn't get back in the box, if you will, if they showed up out of shape. Because it takes 12 weeks to have any real metabolic changes. We're all aware of that. So that created the anxiety of working remotely in the off season. So far, so good. It's been fun infusing the young guys into that group as we go through these necessary things. It is unusual to kind of be in the mode that we're in. Those of us that have been in this business, we kind of have an internal clock, and there's things that you anticipate doing around August the 5th or so annually. And the fact that we're not there is an adjustment, but we're working to manage our emotions and focus on the things that we are able to do. And that's the things that I outlined. And we also continually acknowledge that we're not in any way behind because all the other 31 teams are structurally doing similar things or in the same place. So with that being said, I'll open it up for questions.
Okay, the first question is going to be from Ed Bouchette. Ed, go ahead.
Morning, Mike.
Hey, Ed, how's it going?
Good, thanks. Acknowledging you're early into this, what improvements at all have you seen in Mason Rudolph, and what expectations do you have for him entering his third season?
We're not in the working stage yet, Ed, for him to have exhibited any significant improvements in any way, and so that's a tough answer. We're looking forward to him taking a significant step this year. I think that's a reasonable thing as he continues to mature, not only through time spent with us, but experience and exposure, and he's gotten some in-game exposure. It's going to be an issue for him not to get those quality preseason snaps that are so valuable for a young developing quarterback. But all the young developing quarterbacks have to deal with those circumstances this year and other positional players. It's just a function of where we are here in 2020.
Okay, the next question is going to be from Mike Pursuta from WDVE. Mike, go ahead.
Mike, what's going on?
Not too much, Mike. I'm curious, you mentioned you had a chance to actually address the group. Have you done a team meeting? And if so, how do you do that? You take them into the Great Hall and use a megaphone? How's the social distancing protocols work out?
We're doing different things, and we're taking this transitional or this conditioning period, if you will, to try different things, because we're all going into an environment now where you got some unusual considerations. For example, today in my morning team meeting, I met with the veteran players in person, and I had all assistants and rookies view that team meeting remotely from other parts of the building, either via a handheld device, iPad, or so forth, or we have some in-house television monitors that they can tune in on a channel anywhere within the building and participate in that meeting. So, that's just part of normal procedure for us for 2020. We're not going to run away from that. We're going to try different things to become familiar with all the technology at our disposal in an effort to have the best learning and teaching environment. So that process is ongoing. That's just an example of how we did it today.
All right, the next question is from Will Graves from the Associated Press. Will, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, appreciate you taking the time this morning. I know today's the opt-out day for players. To your knowledge, has anybody chosen to take that route yet? And then what gives you confidence the NFL will be able to sort of pulled this off. We've seen the obstacles that Major League Baseball has faced as they've tried to get going.
You know, I acknowledge that today is the opt-out deadline, if you will. I don't have any knowledge of anybody on our team that has any strong considerations in that way. If that were the case, like I mentioned earlier, that is a very individual decision, one that we all would understand and respect and adjust. And secondarily, you know, I don't know that I'm extremely confident. I respect the challenges that this circumstances has presented to other leagues, and some of which we're witnessing. I think we're all, you know, proceeding with caution and working extremely hard not to become part of that. And, you know, we've got some people in leadership positions, Dr. Sills and other medical professionals that have led the charge for us globally in the NFL, and we're working our tails off to adhere to it and hoping that is enough, coupled with obviously personal decision making that needs to be exhibited continually by our guys throughout the course of this.
Okay, next question, Jerry Dulac from the Post-Gazette. Jerry, go ahead.
Mike, hi. I have to assume that you watched Ben throw on Monday and Tuesday, I believe it was. Just curious what you saw, what you thought of what you evaluated with Ben.
You know, I'm extremely comfortable with where he is in the process. It's been great communication from and through him and the medical professionals through his rehab process. I did watch him throw. You know, I didn't see anything that was alarming in any way. His velocity is excellent. Maybe his spiral could be a little tighter. I've seen it tighter, but nothing to alarm you in any way. We're going to continue to proceed and proceed appropriately with him in an effort to have him ready to go when we step into a stadium.
Thanks, Mike.
Next one, Joe Rutter from the Trib. Joe, go ahead.
Mike, you talk about the development of players from year 1 to 2. What specifically would you like to see from Devin Bush this year? And is communication going to be a big part of that?
You know, communication is a big part of his general growth and development because of the position that he plays. He's a defensive quarterback, if you will, being an all-situations linebacker, one that plays in all down and distances and circumstances. And so, you know, he's the type of guy that has to be a hub of communication. We were thoughtful about the things that we asked him to do in that regard a year ago. He was challenged enough just to play and to be as productive a member of the unit as he was for us. It's reasonable for us to expect him to take us a significant step in those unofficial endeavors that kind of encompass his position. And so, you know, we're working on usual things, and he's displayed, you know, the usual maturational process things. He showed up in great condition, and that indicates an understanding of the nature of this thing that maybe he didn't have a year ago. And we'll proceed from there. But there are some unofficial things that he has to embrace, and that's the things that come with being defensive quarterback, if you will.
Next one, Brooke Pryor, ESPN.com. Brooke, go ahead.
Hey, Mike. When we talked to Ben earlier this week, he talked about just the different perspective that he got on the sideline, seeing the way the players communicate with each other, the way coaches communicate with players. And I was just curious, in the short time that you've had him back at practice this week, have you noticed a difference in the way that he communicates or his demeanor, leadership, anything like that? He sounded pretty excited when he was talking to us earlier this week.
No, as you know, I know you guys hadn't had a chance to witness this. We haven't practiced yet. We're simply in classroom instruction and walkthroughs, and that's just further instruction, if you will, on your feet. So it hadn't been a lot of opportunity to witness what you suggest, but I'm sure he's excited, and I'm sure that the group is excited to have him back in the leadership and experience that he brings.
Thanks.
Next one, Dale Lawley from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Dale, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, I'm just wondering, you signed 2 veteran guys in the past week, and when the regular season starts, because of the COVID rules in place, is there going to be a lag time on how guys are going to be able to be signed like that? Are they going to have to go through the same protocols of testing and all that stuff? Is there going to be like a 3-day window when you sign guys off the street?
There is a lag time as we sit here today, procedurally in terms of the acquisition or the working out of guys. But as the COVID environment is changing daily, I would imagine so is our information and maybe even our policy. So, but the things that we're working under today may not be the things that we're working under in terms of as we push into the season. But that is the circumstance today, and that's why you got to be thoughtful about kind of forecasting where you need to fortify your depth and so forth, because it will take a few days in an effort to get thoughts or plans into action in regards to the acquisition of players.
Next question is Aubrey Bruce from the Sentinel. Aubrey, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Great. Aubrey, how you doing?
I'm good. Quick question, Coach. Last year was challenging to you because of all the multiple injuries, and you still pulled off an 8-8 season, which I think was great. But now compounded with this COVID situation, and you have a few unsure things from a personnel perspective, do you think this year might be a little bit more challenging?
I always come into the season expecting it to be challenging. I've been on this job 14 years. I've been in the NFL 20 years, and there's always a challenge. What the challenge may be, or the highlights, if you will, of the challenge, it's difficult to forecast. But just from a mentality standpoint, I think we all who have been in this thing come into this time of year ready to embrace and meet and hopefully overcome the challenges associated with the journey.
Few more questions here. Next one is Jenna Harner from WPXI. Jenna, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, good morning. Kind of along the lines of what Brooke had asked a little bit. When we heard from Deontay yesterday, he kind of just spoke to this excitement, this different excitement that Ben has. And I know you guys haven't gotten out on the field, but how have you kind of seen the wide receivers room really respond to the way Ben has kind of come in here being back?
Again, sorry, we just, it hadn't been a lot of opportunities for those type of things. We've got a new wide receiver coach in Ike Hilliard, and more than anything, the things that I've witnessed from that group is them getting familiar of working with him on a day-to-day basis in an on-field setting and things of that nature, in a classroom setting. And so they're very much in a get-to-know phase with their positional coach, and I think that that's probably the thing that's kind of moved to the forefront here at the initial stages. I'm sure that as we get into football and we compete a little bit, there'll be plenty of evidence of some of the things that you suggest.
All right, two more questions. Jeff Hathorn, 93.7 The Fan. Jeff, go ahead.
Hey, Mike. Just wondering, how would you describe Vince Williams' role with this defense, and how does he lead on that unit?
In terms of his role, in terms of the division of labor, that's why we come to camp. That's why we go through the things that we go through. Just in terms of having worked with Vince over the course of his career, he's a formidable run stopper. That is his niche. He's always been really solid in that regard over the course of his career. He's worked to develop other aspects of his game. His rush is something that has been noteworthy in recent years. His ability to win as a blitzer versus backs is an asset to us. And his football intelligence and communication skills have always been a solid component of his resume. So we got a lot of respect for Vince, and we're excited about his contributions this year, and some of the details in terms of what his role might be and how it plays out will be determined through this process.
Okay, final one before Coach has another commitment. Mark Caboli from The Athletic. Mark, go ahead.
What's up, Mike? My question is,
what's going on?
Not much. With Munchak gone last year, you lost a voice in the offensive game planning room. Do you think losing that voice hurt? Plus, adding two seemingly strong opinion offensive people in Hilliard and Canada, you think they'll be comfortable coming in with specific game plan ideas when Randy's putting things together?
I acknowledge that change and transition is not only a component of play, but also a component of coaching. And sometimes you lose quality people and you get a chance to acquire others. So, some of the veteran expertise that we might have lost in and a Munchak we probably picked up on the other side of the ball in the Terrell Austin, if you will. There's strengths and weaknesses of staffs, just like there is of football teams. And so I don't worry necessarily about specific areas. Just the totality of us need to be what our team needs us to be. And I'm excited about this year's new mix and the strengths that they bring. And also I'm cautious about, adjusting to some of the things that we might have lost through transition. I think that's just a component of staff development, just like it is team development when you lose and acquire players and so forth.